Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the Evermore podcast. This is your post-match reaction live with Chris after Newcastle United have just absolutely smashed Aston Villa 4-0 at St James's Park. An unbelievable game. Well, unbelievable second half anyway, but we'll get stuck right into that in a minute. Just before we do a little bit of housekeeping, if you haven't already, please click that like and subscribe button. We'd love you to come and join us. We're on about 1942 subscribers, I think, at the minute. So we're pushing on to the 2,000 mark. With your help, we'll definitely get there. All free content in this. We have 2 live shows every Monday and Wednesday, and pop-up videos just like this beautiful post-match reaction I'm about to do for Eddie Howe's Champions League chasing mags. And we are live tonight, so jump in the comments. As always, we've got a couple of you joining us already. I'm sure we're going to have a few more coming in. We've got some brilliant comments already. We've got Peter in the house. How you doing, Peter? Burns, Tripp, Pope, and Wilson need to be on the plane at the World Cup. Absolutely. Joe Linton for Brazil says Al Stapleton. No doubt he is fucking class. We are class, as Joey Tool for Life had said, and we are massive. Davies in the comments. Good evening, Chris. What a fucking result. Absolutely. And Ash is there as well. Canny afternoon that. Absolutely. We're going to have loads more comments, I'm sure, from the guys. But feel free to jump in if you're new to the channel. As I say, whack the button and subscribe. So let's get stuck into it then. So obviously taking on Aston Villa today, confidence was high. Off the back of a brilliant result against Spurs last week. We didn't really fear Aston Villa. They're obviously in between managers at the minute. They're in caretaker charge. Hence my piss-taking good evening at the start. Unai Emery is due to come in, but he bottled it. He thought he'd take the job after the Newcastle game, and judging by today, he was probably right to do it. So let's just have a little look at the lineup before we get stuck into how the game went. So this is how we lined up, as we thought, pretty much unchanged. Elliot Anderson didn't make the bench, as we thought he might have done in our preview. But that wizard, St. Maximin, was back amongst the subs, which was brilliant to see. But it was unchanged, a fantastic team that beat Spurs, obviously. Wilson, Miggy, and Joe Linton leading the front three, with Bruno, Longstaff, and Willock. Bruno had some kip now, so obviously he's going to play better, hopefully, he did against Spurs. And then that solid back five as well with Dan Burn, left back. So Matty Target missed out on that start against Aston Villa. But let's get stuck into how the game went. And so it was a game of 2 halves, really, as cheesy as that sounds, as Ron manager as that sounds. The first half was very frustrating. I must admit, I was obviously watching it on a stream. The boys were at the game, so PK and Lee, Dan, Mark was there as well today. So a few of the boys were there. I was watching on the TV, and it was really bitty. The referee whistled more than somebody at Icon after 6 lines of coke, I think. Every single 2 seconds, the whistle was blowing off. Aston Villa players were down, holding their knees and everything else. And I think Martinez was probably injured for about 43 minutes of the 40 or 50 odd minute first half. I don't know what the hell was going on with him. But he's that injured. They've got to try and get him off. Really, I don't know whether they were just trying to be crafty, trying to do a bit of shithousery time wasting, but. It just, I'm just looking at some of the comments there. You're right, Ash. Tyrone Mings is a shithouse, a pub team centre-half, in my opinion. I think Peter's saying there as well, Villa fans are now swamping the trauma hotline for help. Absolutely. Do you remember when they said they'd finish above us? And I think that there was that stupid video going around where they scored themselves in every single possible way out of 10, and they were better than us here, 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 and here. Yeah, guess again, guys. Going back to the game, first half was ropey as fuck, really. Probably highlighted the game, really, I suppose, the first half was an outrageous attempt by Shaw Longstaff. I can't tell whether it was an attempted cross-field pass that he just mishit, or whether he was trying to lob Martinez from near on his own half. But it kind of span it out wide a little bit. It was more close to hitting my car and no shields, I think, than it was the back of the net of the Leazers. But I think Joe Linton looked quite lively. Obviously, the Brazilian manager was in the crowd watching Bruno, so I think Joe Linton had a bit of a point to prove as well. I think he was up for the cup. He was wanting to show his kind of worth for that World Cup selection, and he did quite well. Joe Linton, I think the whole game he grafted his arse off. He was showing for the ball. He looked live. He looked up for it. He was buzzing around. He was dropping deep. He was pulling wide. He was doing those strong runs, and even in the first half, it was a bit bitty. Bruno looked a little bit laggy, I think, a little bit off the pace a bit. But I think a lot of that was to do with just the general time waste and really the stopping left, right, and centre. So Martinez eventually got up, and then I think Buendia went down for another fucking 15 minutes or something after that, and he was holding his leg after a really good block from Dan Burn, which really was probably the only time that Villa threatened. I was a little bit worried in the first half with Dan Burn at left back. I thought Leon Bailey looked like he was going to trouble him a little bit with that pace. Burn's not the quickest. He's very good defensively. He's got great positional sense. But he did worry me a little bit in terms of how easily I thought Bailey could turn him inside now. But he did quite well. The Dan Burnley stuck to the task. Botman and Shea again were spot on, brilliant. Some great touches, some real quality, some calmness. They totally kept Watkins and Ings quiet in that first half, and we probably should have scored earlier than we did. I think Miggy Almiron gets slipped through with a lovely passing from Bruno, a couple of nice passes he put through. Wilson had just come close with a header prior to that, who looked really up for it as well. Callum Wilson with Southgate watching on in the crowd. I'm just laughing at this comment from William there. Yeah, Ashley looked for 67 years old. I bet he's feeling 67 years old after today. So yeah, Wilson should have scored with a header. It was a good attempt, lovely cross in. And then Miggy comes through one-on-one. At this point, Martinez had gone off. He should have went off about 25 minutes before. Good save by Olsen, the substitute goalkeeper. Keeping Miggy at bay. But then shortly after that, we break again. We were on them. We were on them like a rash. We were cutting through them like a knife through butter. At this point, they had nothing to offer really. Did Villa going the other way? There were holes everywhere for us to exploit. Out wide through the centre, Willock was just running through people. So was Joe Linton. Ball comes through. Almiron whips it across the box, and Ashley Young slides, and it's the most blatant penalty I think you'll ever see in the whole of the season. So Ashley Young slides and then puts his arm up like he's doing some kind of weird yoga stretch at the gym, like this, and the ball hits his hand. Blatant penalty. Doesn't stop Ashley Young complaining. I think he thought he was back playing for Manchester United there, but he realised the rest of his teammates really weren't complaining because he knew it was a blatant penalty. So up stops Callum Wilson, smashes it right down the middle in front of Southgate. Crowd goes fucking nuts. We're 1-0 up in the first half. First half comes to a close. Second half comes out, and I think Peter's just said that in the comments there as well. Villa absolutely crumbled in the second half. They did, Peter. To be honest with you, Villa's game plan clearly today was to just come and shithouse a draw or something like that, or catch us on the break, maybe with Watkins' pace or Bailey's pace, and it totally backfired on them. Such was the relentless pressing of Newcastle United, the ability just to play through the lines and pop it off to each other and make space. We are such a better side than Aston Villa, such a better side, and that's without Alan St-Maximin or Alexander Isak. We're such a far superior team, and rightly so deserve to be in the top four, possibly higher as well. If fucking Spurs hadn't won, would have been third, I think, or possibly second. But so the game kind of kicks off in the second half. We're all over them. Villa look just beaten, completely beaten. And then cross comes in. Wilson with a lovely header, flicks it in, kind of touches the post, goes in 2-0. We're really in the ascendancy after that. VAR checks it for offside. He's never offside in a million years. And then Villa just completely fold like a cheap deck chair at Blackpool. Which I was at the other day. So, we break with pace again. Willock's just bursting through the middle. Joe Linton latches onto it. I think Wilson takes a shot. Keeper parries it. Joe Litton's clearly onside again. He slips it in. He puts it in. 3-0. Villa are completely and utterly shell-shocked at this point. They're looking for VAR again. It's not going to happen. And they're just, they're completely beaten as a side. And it's just a question of how many goals Newcastle United are going to get at that point. Wilson's completely rampant. He's desperate for his hat-trick. He's making brilliant runs. He's all over the place. He's leading the line really well. Mickey was buzzing all over the place. And I honestly thought for a second, Miggy's going to have to get in the score sheet here. He really has to. I think Willock wanted a goal as well. You could see that, but it just wasn't coming. So he looked a bit pissed off when he got taken off to Willock. So I think he wanted that goal. I think it's on about the 67th minute mark. So it was probably a good 10 minutes, 8 minutes after Wilson had scored. We were just peppering that goal, peppering him left, right, and centre. And then Miggy gets the ball. He runs at them. Villa, dreadful, not closing them down at all. The lad's on the form of his life. He gets the ball. He smashes it in the top corner. Another unbelievable finish from Miggy Almiron, another contender for goal of the month. The kid's just on fire, absolutely on fire. Best season he's had for Newcastle United, bar none, probably the best season he's had in his career so far. And he was just utterly, utterly fantastic again today. Busy from minute 1 to minute 90. Even in the 84th minute, he was chasing people down and winning the ball back. He was utterly, utterly brilliant. Wilson gutted for him. Hat-trick was in the offing. Cross come in, unbelievable header, braze off the post. He's absolutely livid as Callum Wilson. I was screaming. I thought it was in the back of the net. You could see Southgate smiling in the crowd. At Wilson. I think Ash has got a comment in there about Southgate. Did you see Warm Andy getting up in Southgate's boat race when Wilson scored the penalty? I did see Southgate smiling when Wilson scored, to be fair. So Southgate's got to know how good Callum Wilson is. He has to know. He has to know. He's that good of a player. And when he's playing like that, he's absolutely fantastic. He really, really is. Got a comment from Ash in the comments there. Another Ash. We love an Ash on this channel. Insane game. Almiron's goal. Fucking disgusting strike. It was absolutely brilliant, Ash. It really was. Like I say, I don't know how they don't close him down from a Villa perspective. They must be sick as a chip, because Almiron's in the form of his life. And to score a goal like that is the way that he's playing right now. He's shifting it to that left foot. He's going to curl it in the top corner and just utterly fantastic. Oh, Mark has joined us live from the channel here.
Oh, what are you saying? There's brilliance for you.
Yeah, Mark's just outside the ground there, guys. So Mark's just jumping in with a bit of a he's just jumped back out again there for some reason. So Mark was going to jump in there and just give us a bit of a at the ground kind of take on the game. So yeah, just looking at some of the comments here as well. Peter then say we need Grealish to slag off Wood in preparation. I don't think that's going to help Chris Wood at all, Peter, to be honest with you. That bloody chance at the end he has to make it 5-0. Fucking, my bloody cat could have put that in the back of the net, mate. It's only a kitten, for Christ's sake. So we've got Will as well saying here that Miggy almost scored in the first half with his right foot. One of the signs of the apocalypse. Absolutely. He's not quite up there with Aaron Ramsey yet, mate. But we've got another comment here from Robert, who looks new in the chat. Click that button, Robert, if you haven't already, mate. Match of the day, goal of the month. It's going to be interesting this month. Miggy has 4 genuine contenders. Absolutely, mate. Miggy is on fire, honestly. I owe him an apology like everybody else does who writ him off. I don't know what Eddie Howe has been putting into his cereal. And greetings from Slovenia. Yeah, greetings to you too, Alex, mate. Great to have you in the comments. We've got Trolls there too. He's saying he's agreeing with Les that he didn't think we would win, but win by 4, to be honest with you. Absolutely, yeah. No, I think these lads are surprising all of us, to be honest with you. I'm just looking at the comment there as well. Here we go. We did have a comment there from Randall. Good to see you too, Randall. Click that button if you haven't already. As a long-suffering Toon supporter from South Africa, let me just say I'm so bloody happy at the moment. What a time. I'm just going to try to get Mark back in here if I can. I can see him hanging around in the waiting room. Bear with us, everybody. See if we can get a live match reaction from Mark. Can you hear us, Mark?
Just. Managed to get the audio sorted out.
I was going to say, mate, how was that?
Well,
how was the atmosphere today?
That was an interesting game, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. That was. I mean, it felt flat to start with. Certainly the first half, but I think the stoppages didn't help it at all. And then the second half, it was just one after another, wasn't it? And the atmosphere ramps up, and it was deafening. That is as loud as I've heard it, probably in quite a while. That was a proper sight. And do you know what? They were brilliant. Newcastle were just absolutely sensational. They're picking the spaces up across the park. Bruno was just on fire. He found every gap possible. And I mean, Villa were just dreadful that second half, especially. So, just what a brilliant result for Newcastle.
I was just going to say, Mark, because I was just saying there before you jumped in that I think Botman and Cher really marshalled Watkins and Ings really well, who are 2 decent players, to be fair. They've got movement and speed, but they look completely redundant today. Was that a case of them being poor, or was that the lads at the back just being brilliant with the positional sense?
I think a bit of both. Ollie Watkins was awful. He was knocked off the ball, or just dropped my phone. Knocked off the ball, lost possession lots. Danny Ings needs service into the box, into his feet. The number of balls that were just being lobbed up to him, and he's never going to beat the likes of Shaw, Botman, and Byrne to a ball in the air. It was just a ridiculous sort of tactic in the end. But they just lost all manner of how to play, and it was completely dictated by Newcastle's just brilliance, because they were exceptional today.
Yeah, I think Joe Litton looked great in front of the Brazilian manager. There's been some shouts in the comments already for Joe Litton to get in that Brazilian squad. I know it's a decent Brazilian squad, but I thought Joe, I mean, obviously watching on TV, the ground's very different because you get to see players when they're off the camera, don't you? As well as obviously when we see them on the camera. But I thought Joe was sensational today. He looked like he covered every blade of grass. Was that the case in the ground, Mark? Was Joe Litton just everywhere and sniffing out every ball that he could get?
Bullish. He was back to his bullish best. I think he's been quiet of late. I think at times, and I'm just realising I'm covering up the camera. He's been quiet of late, and he's not been quite as productive, I think, in that middle of the park. He's still done his job really well, but I think that role slightly further forward absolutely suited him today. He was strong. He wasn't knocked off the ball. He played with it well. He held it up well. He brought others into it, and yeah, I mean that's a show for. Is it Tite, the Brazil manager, isn't it? It's definitely it's definitely
Tite, not to be mistaken with Titty. Tite is the way you do say it normally, mate. So you have to have a bit of South American flair. You sound like you're calling him a name. So we've got Alex in the comments saying that Miggy is the new Messi. To be honest with you, we made a joke about this the other day, didn't we? It's hard to tell the difference between the two of them these days. I mean, Miggy Almiron's goal. I mean, I've just been saying, Mark. I mean, the engine on the kid is. I don't think I've ever seen a fitter footballer in my life than Miggy Almiron. But I think just looking at the goal that he scored, brilliant from Miggy's perspective. But Villa's got to close it. Hey, come on, mate, get in.
Say hi to everybody.
Get in. Come on, the lads. But I'm just saying that Villa have got to be. What they're saying?
I've no idea.
Live on the channel, lads. They must have had a bet on 4-0, these boys. But I was just saying that from a Villa perspective, they must have been. How the hell they don't close down that shot from Miggy Almiron is ridiculous, really. From an opposition management point of view, everybody knew what he was going to do, didn't they?
No, you can see it. He was looking for it all game, and it just it falls to him perfectly. It's just the kid's in so much form. That's always gonna hit the back of the net, and it was a sensational strike again, and just something that you could see coming all afternoon.
Great comment from David.
Totally right. Well, it's one of those days where second half everything just came off. They were just brilliant, and to a man there wasn't a single one of them that was poor. There was nobody really that had an off game. Everybody was bang at it. So
it's funny because Terrace's S there is raising a valid point. It seemed like we used more subs today than the five. Was there a concussion sub or something?
Martinez went off with a concussion sub, so it allows Newcastle then to have an extra substitution. So yes, that opens that up. So.
Well, there you go. That answers that question then, Terrace.
I've no idea what actually happened to Martinez. We saw him go down after, I think it was the challenge with Wilson early doors, and he was down for a long time. And I'm sorry, if he's got concussion issues, he should have been taken off straight away. But it was just, it was. It's one of those days. Everything goes wrong for one side, it goes right for the other. So.
Yeah, I've just got a question for you, Mark. As you're quite close to the RVI, have you seen Ashley Young come in with his legs tied in knots? Because Miggy Almiron spun him all game, and then Jacob Murphy had him having motion sickness as well, mate. It was a tough day for old Ashley Young, wasn't it, mate? I mean, at 67 years old, as they've said in the comments, you want an easier day at the office than that, mate, don't you?
If I can look that good at 67 years old, Christ almighty. But he was torn. He was torn to shreds. To be honest, he was the only one that was really galvanising the side at one point, and even he was lost.
Trolls is just
that's not the first time. So
to be honest with you, Mings, I called him a pub team defender on Twitter, and the first half in particular, he looked fucking dreadful. He made a couple of good blocks, in all fairness, in the second half, I think, to stop Wilson getting his hat-trick when the ball was cut across, I think, from Murphy, and he got his toe to it, and that was a hat-trick for Wilson all day long. So I think he did all right there, but generally, he's not an England defender, mate, in my opinion, Mings. Dan Burn looked a bit shaky left back. I thought Bailey had the potential to spin him all game. I was worried about that, as I just said earlier on. But I think if I'm looking at Dan Burn and Mings, and I'm thinking who's a World Cup defender there, I'm thinking it's Dan Burn all day long, because Mings just looked shocking, mate. He looked out of his depth.
He does. There's times you start to see him start to lose his head, and there was definite moments of that. You just want him to grab hold of his team and just control them at that point. But it was the same all over the park for Villa. They were just lost. A lot of them, they didn't know what to do. Second half, they just didn't know what to do. Newcastle bossed it. They were so good at keeping the ball. And there were times at which you were looking at, and there were maybe 6 or 7 Villa players would close down, and all of a sudden the balls are gone. And it was one quick pass, just bypassed a lot of them, and they were away.
Well, that's what happens when you have players like Bruno Guimaraes that can do things like that. I mean, even Longstaff, I haven't even mentioned Longstaff today. He was sensational. His movement, his engine, everything. I mean, I'm sure he even tried a lob from the halfway line in the first half. That's how confident he is. But you can just see Alex is saying there that Eddie Howe proved that Gerrard wasn't the problem, it's the team. There's a big job on for Unai Emery there. I mean, I know you were having a pint with the boys from the Villa Park pod today. I'm sure they're having many a pint now, drowning their sorrows. But I think there's a big job for Emery there with that Villa team, because they were totally out of their depth against, Eddie Howe's Champions League chasing mags, mate, weren't they?
Yeah, have they moved up a place today? I haven't seen the league table since I left the ground.
We were third, but Spurs won. Spurs beat Bournemouth 3-2.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so
it was 1-0 at half time, I think, to Bournemouth. So I haven't seen any of the results yet. So
that's because of the Bermuda Triangle at St James's Park, where phone signals go to die.
But,
I really hope the owners get a big fucking tower in there so everyone can get a fucking phone signal at some point.
It's utterly ridiculous. I'm on Northumberland Street. That's where I've managed to get any sort of signal. So it's mad.
See, this is why Mark's jumped on, because if we asked PK to jump on, he'd be on loco, is on his 6th Stella or something. He wouldn't be able to talk properly with PK.
Right. So, I did go and have a look for him, but I couldn't see him, so I thought I'll jump in.
He'll be at the bar. That's where he'll be. There's a great comment from Ash there saying, "You think Mings would be a better defender? He's got a mop on his head. He should be able to clean up." I love that. And we've got L Stapleton saying that Mings was a liability all game. We've got Tommy saying, "I waited for Mark's cat to jump on his shoulder." He's not allowed to take the cat in the metro, Tommy. You get a fine for that, mate, apparently. So,
tell you what, if he does jump on my shoulder, I'm going to shit myself.
I was going to say he's done well to hide all game, mate, if that's the case. But I'll tell you what we'll do, guys. We'll let Mark go, because I'm sure he's going to get himself back in the metro. But great for you to jump on live, mate, and we'll catch you soon.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Cheers, pal. See you, Mark. Yeah, so that's a live reaction from the ground for Mark there as well. He did surprise me. He didn't tell me he was doing that. So unscripted on the Evermore post-match live reaction. But it just goes to back up everything that we're saying, obviously watching it from the TV, that, this Newcastle United team is a nightmare to play against for the rest of the teams in the division. Obviously, we've got Southampton coming up next. I know some of you said in the comments that I think Joe Litton got a yellow card today. I can't remember that even happening, to be honest with you. I think I was too busy shouting at Mings or something. So if he does miss a Southampton game, a couple of you already said that so maximum probably goes on that left-hand side of midfield, and then obviously comes. I think you've got the midfield of obviously Bruno, Longstaff, possibly Shelvey or Willock as well, depending on who's kind of playing there as well. I love this comment from Ash. Tom Hanks is crying. Well, actually, Ash, that's a great segue into this brilliant picture that I did see. This just popped up recently from the Newcastle United Twitter page, who are, since the takeover, have been sensational with their content. And you can see there, it's a picture of that handsome devil, well, the two handsome devils in Callum Wilson and Sven Botman, and it just says, "Sob on the Tyne." So anybody who doesn't know that is a reference back to the Aston Villa fans reveling in our kind of sadness when we got relegated at Villa Park, thanks to Damien Duff's deflected leg to relegate us when Shearer was in charge. And this is kind of where that rivalry with Newcastle United and Villa fans has been born out of, really. I don't really see Villa fans, in that vein, to be honest with you. I know a few Villa fans are all right. They've been kind of through a similar journey to us, really up and down, relegated, mediocre managers, shit owners, that kind of a thing. But yeah, that particular day, a lot of the Villa fans didn't cover themselves in any glory, really. And, a lot of Newcastle fans have got long memories, so we don't forget these things. I think of the Championship, we didn't forget these things either, to be honest with you. So we've got to coin a phrase in the comments. So I've just clicked the wrong button there. We've got to coin a phrase in the comments saying, "I've never heard of an extra sub when one of their players gets a concussion. I've been sweating." Absolutely, mate. But yeah, you're right. I was surprised that as well, but Mark's obviously mentioned it there. Mark's a bit of a boffin with the old rule books. I'm sure I'd take that as read there, mate. Davey saying the crying game. Absolutely. And Ash is saying, "I hate Villa. My brother's a Villa fan, so fuck the Villa." Did he steal a top bunk off you, Ash, when you were younger, mate? But yeah, I mean, it is quite funny because some of the Villa fans, I mean, I think I made a comment, I was laughing my head off on Twitter earlier on, that all these old tweets where people come out and they say, oh, we're going to smash them and I can't see us losing there, people just retweet it and retweet it and retweet it. It's like the cerebral assassins of Twitter, the Triple H's of Twitters, if everyone remembers the WWF or WWE, where they just keep that little tweet locked in. They go, do you know what? If we beat them, I'm going to fucking retweet that. And they just do that, So it's kudos to them. I love a slow game on Twitter. I really do. We've got Roger in the comments. Good to see you, Roger. He's probably just hot-footed back from the ground. I was confused by the sub situation. I questioned my maths. You probably think, how many pre-match pints did I have, Roger? How many subs was there? And to coin the phrase again and saying, Howe would never make that mistake of subbing one player too many. You're right. He's that meticulous, is Eddie Howe. But yeah, I mean, just a brilliant second half, really, guys, to be honest with you. I think, the first half, I think we should have probably been 2 or 3-0 up anyway. I think Villa was shit all game. I really do. I don't think they gave us anything to worry about. I think I said that in the preview. They have got some talented players, there's no doubt about that, but Unai Emery is going to have a real hard job getting the tune out of those guys because they just look like they're scared to play. And very similar to we were, really, when Howe came in. And, it's not an easy fix. I mean, Eddie Howe's done an unbelievable job, and anybody who doubts that just doesn't know football, in my opinion. If we keep playing the way we're going right now, and we finish top 4, top 6, I think Eddie Howe's a shoo-in for manager of the year. I really do. I think just, with the tune he's getting out of those players, he did it with Joe Linton last year, and Emil Kraft to an extent. He's doing it with Miggy this year as well. I think Davey's right there. What a team we have now, absolutely. Every single player, I mean, even Longstaff's getting back to, towards the levels he was when he first came under Rafa, which was just absolutely superb, because a lot of people were ready to, sell Longstaff down the river, really, saying that he was finished in Newcastle United. And you look at him now, he's played every game and he's grafting his nuts off. He's not a world beater. There's no doubt about that. But, he's a hell of a workhorse in this team, as Miguel Almiron is. And when you've got quality like Bruno, like Trippier, like Wilson up front, and Botman again at the back. I mean, some of the touches I saw from Botman today, I know Villa weren't great shakes, but there was times where, maybe a ball would be slipped through the back. And I remember there was one when Botman, he just brought it down on his knee. And it was like time stood still. He brought it down on his knee. I think either Ings or Watkins flew by him, thinking the ball was coming past. And he just strokes the ball out wide to, I think it was Almiron or Murphy or somebody like that. I was just thinking, my God, this guy is unbelievable. And then, he goes off, Target comes on, great to see Target come back into the team. But he did well when he come on, didn't really have a great deal to do. Byrne just slips in at centre half and just looks brilliant next to Cher. Even Lascelles comes on. And Lascelles, I must admit, the first cross when Lascelles comes on and he fluffs that header, I mean, he's cold to the game. I can't believe he doesn't get that header on target or burst the back of the net with that. That's, to me, for Lascelles, this has got to be his last season for me. I don't want to be too harsh because we just won 4-0. Should have been 5 or 6. But you can just see how way off the pace Lascelles is compared to Botman and Cher when you see things like that. You just think, Christ almighty. It was a lovely touch of Trippier to give him the armband, as he always does. But, yeah, for me, Lascelles is finished at this football club after this season. He has to be. We've got to upgrade. I agree with you, Davey. Botman, just amazing. His passes are so perfect. It's just his movement and everything, his calmness. He's so cool. And he makes Cher look better as well. It's just absolutely superb. It really, really is. Ash, another comment there. Remember when we'd see the starting lineup and be, sigh, it's not that feeling anymore. 100%, mate. I couldn't agree more. It's just absolutely superb. And Trolls is saying that Wood and Lascelles should be sold in January, in my opinion. It's an interesting one. I think that if we do go and get the likes of Maddison and Diaby, who, the two names being linked quite regularly, I think we will have to clear up some squad spaces. I really, really do. I think that the likes of Wood and Lascelles might get moved on. The only thing Wood's got going in his favour, certainly with Isak being injured, there's no backup centre forward. Like I say, when he comes on and he fluffs that chance to make a 5, that whole play was top 4 quality. The passing in the back heel from Joe Linton, the cross from Longstaff was brilliant. And the only thing that was mid-table, relegation was Wood's finish. And you just think, come on, mate, just dive and header or volley in the back in there, make it 5. A better centre forward scores that, and we're 5-0 to the good. Again, it doesn't matter because we're 4-0. But it's just, for me, I just think, Wood needs to be upgraded on massively. I know Trolls Isak will be back, and you know what? I think he'll be back with an absolute bang as well, because I just think we haven't seen anything of that kid yet. He was injured when he played against Liverpool, and he ripped them a new arsehole. Imagine what he's going to be like when he's fully fit. That's a scary prospect for the rest of the league. And Takona Fraser saying, did Botman play a half-volley pass from a keeper clearance for the goal that was disallowed? I think he did, actually, mate. The guy's just fucking brilliant. And he's more skillful than half of the midfield, to be brutally honest with you. So it's just, I'm so excited to see what this lad can do. He's 22 years old, 22. Just imagine how good he's going to be as the years go by, mate. And Roger saying, Manquillo done at the styles Richie Wood. Will be beyond fine. We'll be beyond fine. Sorry. I think a lot of them will go. I really like Paul Dummett. I think as an institutionalized player, he's come through the youth academy and that he knows the club, he knows the city and everything else. I'm not sure whether Dummett might just retire and maybe go into the coaching academy or something like that. A little bit what Peter Ramage did. I know Ramage went and played somewhere else, but I just don't think Dummett will go somewhere else to play, because I think his body's that knackered that potentially he'll just stay on the club and maybe like Scholler as well, and just and just be part of the back room of the club. And fair play, because I think Dummett's a good lad. He's never let me down when he has played, but just not been very often. But we will definitely see upgrades on the players. There's no question about that. I think January, if we're still in and around this position, which I think we will be, because we've played the big boys, played the guys around us, we've played some of the guys beneath us. We've got Southampton next. If we'll batter them as well, it's a good litmus test that we've pretty much played all shapes and sizes so far. If we can finish before the World Cup break, or at the World Cup break, in and around 4th, 5th, 6th, I think we'll push the button in January. I really, really do. Because I can't see us losing that many games the way we're playing. We're so good at the back. We're good going forward. We're great in midfield. Touch wood, short of any injury concern, which hopefully we won't have. And then we add that quality to the side. I think we're definitely going to be up there. I mean, Pep Guardiola was talking us up the other day, saying that we're already here as a top 4 team. So just absolutely fantastic. It really, really is. And just Trolls agrees with me in the comments there. Wood should have used his wood to score, but he couldn't score, and the keeper sat in a deck chair. I'm starting to believe that, mate. I don't want to be too critical of Chris Wood, but I think we're signing him at a desperate time when Wilson was knackered and everybody was taking the piss with cost for strikers and everything else. And he came in, he did a job, he banged a couple of goals in, he kind of kept us up, helped us up. Obviously, Wilson coming back, kicked us on that next level and took us well beyond any threat of relegation. But for me, I think we could do with improving on him as even as a backup striker, to be honest with you. I think we could easily do with improving him. And I think Davey's saying there, we are the big boys. And, we still have Isak to come in. That's the best thing about this side at the minute. You look at the football we're playing. Some of that football today in the second half, I know Villa weren't great, but we're carving through them like a knife through butter. It was like watching, I wouldn't say we're good as City, but it's like watching when you see City play, or, Liverpool when they're at it, Spurs when they're at it. It was like watching those teams play against a Villa, or what we used to be. At Everton, Palace, those time teams, they're just bang passes left, right, centre, 1, 2, 3, and then they're through on goal. We're playing like that now. We're playing football like that now. And then when we do lose it, and they come at us, we've got such a solid back line, and probably the best keeper in the league, in my opinion, right now, Nick Pope. That goes a bit unnoticed as well. Sensational goalkeeper, commands his box, great from coming for crosses, much better with his feet than people think he is. Brilliant shot stopper. Should be England's number 1 at the World Cup, in my opinion, rather than that greasy head Mackham, who plays in Merseyside. But I don't think Southgate will change his tune there. But just on Southgate, and maybe just to finish up as well, after seeing Callum Wilson play like that today, I know Southgate gets a lot of criticism for some of the decisions he makes in England. If he does not take Callum Wilson as part of even the provisional squad for the World Cup before he whittles it down, after seeing what that lad can do today, how he leads the line, how he holds the ball up, what his movement's like, how he terrorizes defenders, how calm he is under pressure, how good of a finisher he is. If he does not take Callum Wilson to the World Cup, he deserves to be sacked. He really, really does. Because if he doesn't take Callum Wilson to the World Cup and anything happens to Kane, or Kane just goes off form, he'll have nothing else on the bench to get him a goal to pull him out the shit. So he'll be the signature of his own death warrant after the World Cup there. I did see that, David, that he was smiling when Wilson scored. He's got to take him, mate. He's got to take him. There's no doubt about that. I still can't believe we scored 15 goals in 4 matches. Insane. Do you know what it is, trolls? If you could say that a year ago, people would have laughed you out of the room, mate, wouldn't they? I mean, just wow. It's just incredible. What a difference a year makes. A massive credit to Eddie Howe once again. You know, he could go down as arguably our best ever manager in the Premier League. Absolutely. And Alex thinks Callum is going to Qatar. I couldn't agree more, mate. He's got to go. He's got to go, in my opinion. Chris, Kane could have one leg and Southgate picks him. No, I think Kane is the main man, Ash. I do agree with that. I think he's the main man, and rightly so, because Kane's a goal machine. But I think when you've got someone like Wilson in that squad who can find that space, who's got the pace to get in behind people, can win you a free kick, get a guy sent off, you know, score you a goal because he's a good finisher. When you've got a player like that in a squad, even if Wilson doesn't start, which I don't think he would do, but if you're playing against a team in the group stages or the quarters or whatever, and tired legs are there and it's not quite working for Kane or it's not quite working for, I don't know, whoever else is wide, Sancho or whatever else, you go 2 up top, you go Kane and Wilson. Imagine the terror they would cause a centre-half pairing with Kane dropping deep with his ability to find those little passes down the channels and Wilson's running. England would be absolutely on fire. They really would. I mean, they'd be such a frightening prospect for people. They really, really would. And yeah, I agree with you, Jens. Joe Litton owned the pitch today. 10 out of 10. Bow to J7. Do you know what? I'll finish up with a man of the match. It's a real tight man of the match. I think Joe Litton was sensational today. He was back to his best. But I've got to just tip it to Callum Wilson, just because he got 2 goals. He should have got 3. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was brilliant for minute 1. His presence, everything about Callum Wilson. He's a proper number 9. We love a number 9, and he is a proper number 9. You know, it's just such a shame that he's not 2 or 3 years younger and not made of glass. But touch wood, again, that's twice I've done that. Touch wood again. If he can stay fit, Callum Wilson, he's probably on course to get 15 to 20 goals this season. He really, really is. We've got the comments there as well. Ash is saying Tony and Wilson are better. Yeah, I agree with that. Tony's a good player as well. I would take Kane, Tony, and Wilson personally is who I would take. Burn is my pick too, says Alex. Absolutely. Burn at left back and centre half. I mean, it makes no sense not to leave the guy behind. I think, as Mark said on What's Going On, I think, or Evermore, he'd probably be in that provisional squad as well. I think on the outside, whatever it is, the 30 or 40 players, and it'll get whittled down. You know, might have a couple of standbys and stuff like that as well. Mark's back in the comments there. It must have been the net run away home. Could have been 8 or 9. Absolutely. I think the way we played today, absolutely brilliant. It really was just breathtaking to see us play this kind of football. It really, really is. I'm just buzzing for the younger fans who didn't get to see the Keegan days, like I did, or Bobby Robson, even when he come back. You know, like of everyone, Dan Wales, who's part of the Evermore squad, doing his thing on local TV. Dan, check him out. He's brilliant. Dan only ever knew Mike Ashley, and the football Dan's seeing now, I mean, God, it must be like Christmas come early for Dan, seeing this type of football he's seeing now compared to the shite he's been served up by that fat Cockney bastard for so long. We've got Shay Spinning. That's a new name as well. Shay, click that button if you haven't, dude. Any opposition will be shaking their boots when they come to Almighty St James's Park. Too right, mate. It doesn't matter who you are. Come to St James's Park, you're in for a hell of a game. Davey saying he hopes that J7 gets in the Brazil squad. If he keeps playing like that in front of the manager, mate, absolutely. I couldn't disagree with you or agree with you even anymore, mate. We've got Al Stapleton, exactly. Trolls, good for Wilson. Squeaky bum time for us. That's a good point, I think, because Trolls was saying if Wilson goes to the World Cup, he might get injured. Thank God Isak isn't at the World Cup, and he'll have a proper mini pre-season to get himself fit. But yeah, I do think Wilson will go. If he keeps playing the way he's playing, guys, I really do think that Wilson will go. But that's a good way to round it up. We've got Southampton coming up next. Make sure you tune into What's Going On with me and Mark on Monday at 10 o'clock. We'll be tuning through some of the fat, maybe talking about some of the kind of the lighter news as well. In Newcastle United stories, having a bit of crack as we do on that show all the time. And then we're going to be back with Evermore on Wednesday live at 7. Hopefully we'll have a guest panelist coming on as well. I've been chatting to her for a while, so hopefully she'll come on. It'll be a face you guys know, so make sure you tune in for that. Make sure she confirms. I'm not going to say too soon who she is, but that'd be great if we have her on. So as I said at the start, guys, if you haven't already, please click that like and subscribe button. We'd love you to come on board. We're on about 1942 subscribers. We're really pushing for that 2,000 mark. With your help, we'll get there. All free content is. We don't charge anybody anything. It's tough times at the minute. We're not interested in charging people for hoovering up Newcastle United content. We just love talking about it. And it's absolutely sensational to talk about it here. So we've got here, what's this? Tommy saying, great job, Chris. Wash hands, absolutely, mate. We've got Maurice Kennedy. That's a new name. Click that button, dude. think Europe is definitely possible. Absolutely. And Davey saying, great show. Thank you very much, Davey. And thank you everybody in the comments. Let's keep supporting that team. We'll call United. I've just clicked that for no reason. We'll keep supporting that team. We'll call United. Me and Mark are going to be back on Monday with what's going on at 10 o'clock. Have a cracking evening, everybody, or have a cracking evening, as Emery would say. Get the beers in. 3 more points. Champions League. I can hear the music playing already. Dust the passports down, and we'll catch you later. See ya.